Alrighty, everyone. May 1st, 2025. I am Michael Winkler, and this is the Mike Wink Show. All right, we're going to start today's session off quickly, and this might be a shorter session today. Trump pardons Nevada politician who paid for cosmetic surgery with funds to honor a slain officer. Yeah, so I heard about this yesterday or the day before, just in passing, very casually. Heard mention of Trump pardoning some lady who embezzled fallen police officer memorial funds to pay for plastic surgery, which sounds like something out of The Onion. Um, this sounds like satire, but satire is dead. And in this era, in the era of the Trump era, in the Trump era, satire is dead. And so this actually isn't all that surprising, but still wild and newsworthy regardless. Las Vegas. President Donald Trump has pardoned a Nevada Republican politician who was awaiting sentencing on federal charges that she used money meant for a statue honoring a slain police officer for personal costs, including plastic surgery. Michele Fiore, a former Las Vegas city councilwoman and state lawmaker who ran unsuccessfully in 2022 for state treasurer, was found guilty in October of 6 counts of federal wire fraud and 1 count of conspiracy to commit wire fraud. She was she was out of custody ahead of her sentencing, which had been scheduled for next month. In a lengthy statement Thursday on Facebook, the loyal Trump supporter expressed gratitude to the president while also accusing the U.S. government and select media outlets of a broad, decade-long conspiracy to target and dismantle her life. And bro, come on. Is the new uh, Trump wave of conservative politicians just going to be like maximum victimhood mentality? Are they going to be full on, like, full throated conspiracy theorists that the deep state and that, like, the government and everybody's out to get them? Bro, this is like bordering on schizophrenia. Like, this is political schizophrenia right here. The White House has confirmed Fiore has been pardoned but does not comment on the president's decision. The pardon issued Wednesday comes less than a week after Fiore lost a bid for a new trial. She had been facing the possibility of decades in prison. Federal prosecutors said at trial that Fiore, 54, had raised more than $70,000 for the statue of a Las Vegas police officer who was fatally shot in 2014 in the line of duty, but had instead spent some of it on cosmetic surgery, rent, and her daughter's wedding. Michele Fiore used a tragedy to line her pockets, federal prosecutor Dahoud Askar said. FBI agents in 2021 subpoenaed records and searched Fiore's home in Las Vegas in connection with her campaign spending. In a statement, Nevada Democratic Party Executive Director Hillary Barrett called the pardon reckless and a slap in the face to law enforcement officers. Fiore, who does not have a law degree, was appointed as a judge in a deep red Nye County in 2022, shortly after she lost her campaign for state treasurer. What? Wait a minute. Fiore, who does not have a law degree, was appointed as a judge in deep red. Oh my God. They actually they they elected somebody for judge who doesn't have a law degree, who's not a lawyer? What is happening? She lost. I can't even get over that. What? What? For real? Hold on. I need to take a pause here and click on this link and see what the heck. I need to see more about this. Hold on. We have to take a test. So this was released in December 20th. This article was released December 21st, 2022. 2022. GOP firebrand Michele Fiore appointed to Nevada judgeship. Following years of controversy, a former Las Vegas city councilwoman who moved to rural Nevada County after losing a bid in November for statewide office was appointed unanimously Tuesday evening to a local judgeship. Republican firebrand Michele Fiore, who does not have a law degree, will fill a seat on the Pahrump Justice Court in Nye County through 2024. Pahrump is located about 65 miles west of Las Vegas. Her appointment to the bench over 17 other applicants marked the latest chapter in a decade-long political career marked by scandal, including reports of an FBI probe into campaign finances and accusations of physical assault. In a pitch to Nye County commissioners Tuesday night, Fiore said she would approach the judgeship with integrity and honesty because she has been at the end of the political barrel. Oh my God. This lady, oh, she is part of the new generation of insanity. FBI agents subpoenaed records and searched Fiore's home last night in Southwest Las Vegas in connection with her campaign spending, the Las Vegas Review-Journal reported. Earlier this year, she was sued by Las Vegas councilwoman Victoria Seaman, who accused Fiore of breaking her finger in a physical fight at City Hall in January. The two were once good friends and close political allies. And while serving in the state assembly from 2012 to 2016, Fiore gained national attention for her support of rancher Cliven Bundy and his family during armed standoffs between militiamen and federal law enforcement officers in Bunkerville, Nevada in 2014 and Mahler, Oregon in 2016. My understanding is that those standoffs were like basically a bunch of insane libertarian thinking people who didn't want the government to do something that was very reasonable. I don't remember all of the details around this. I can't remember every single thing that happens politically and all the details, but my understanding was like the government wanted to do something somewhat benign and reasonable, and they were just like they absolutely spazzed out, and really leaned into the whole libertarian anti-government stuff. So for her to be openly supportive of them is, I need to do more digging into it, but my gut tells me and my memory vaguely tells me that that's wrong and stupid. Fiore said Tuesday that she moved to Pahrump a week after she lost to incumbent state treasurer Zach Conine, a Democrat, in the November 8th general election. Fiore had joined the race. Why didn't she say that the election was rigged, bro? It would be I guarantee you at some point in her future she's going to claim a rigged election, but I'm surprised in this one that she didn't claim a rigged election. Maybe because it would be so ridiculous to argue that they rigged the Nevada state treasurer position against you, but like still, this is ooh. Fiore had joined the race on a penultimate day of Nevada's candidacy filing period in March after campaigning for months as a Republican gubernatorial hopeful. After the last-minute jump, the race for control of Nevada's government finances drew significant attention across the state as Fiore's past issues with the Internal Revenue Service resurfaced. She was once on the hook for hundreds of thousands of dollars in tax liens. Fiore said Tuesday night that she is ready to start a new life as a Pahrump girl. Oh God. She details plans of living on a 2-acre lot that she said she had purchased over the summer, as well as completing a bachelor's degree and taking the Nevada State bar exam in the future. Bro, come on, stop. You guys really elected somebody. Is there nobody else with a law degree who ran? You guys elect the schizophrenic nut job to be judge over somebody with a law degree. Oh, it's so painful. She was elected last June to complete the unexpired term of a judge who died but had been suspended without pay amid her legal troubles. Pahrump is an hour's drive west of Las Vegas. In her statement Thursday, Fiore said she plans to return to the bench next week. Nye County said it is awaiting an update on Fiore's current suspension from the State Commission on Judicial Discipline, which told the Associated Press in an email that it was aware that Fiore had been pardoned, but that it didn't have further comment on her situation. Fiore served in the state legislature from 2012 to 2016. She was a Las Vegas councilwoman from 2017 to 2022. While serving as a state lawmaker, Fiore gained national attention for her support of rancher, blah, blah, blah. I already went over this. So, is that the end of the article? I was hoping this article would give more information on exactly how she embezzled the fund. I'm going to see if this link tells me a bit more information. Nevada GOP politician who ran for state treasurer headed towards trial in fundraising fraud case. A Nevada Republican who ran unsuccessfully for state treasurer in 2022 pleaded not guilty Monday to headed towards trial in 2 weeks on federal accusations she used funds raised for a statue honoring a slain police officer for political and personal costs, including her daughter's wedding. The new charges brought to seven. The new charges brought to seven the number of wire fraud and conspiracy counts against Michele Fiore, a former state assembly and Las Vegas city council member who had been suspended with pay from her elected position as a justice of the peace in rural Pahrump. Each count carries a possible penalty of 20 years in prison. Fiore had pleaded not guilty July 17 to 5 counts of criminal indictment, or a 5 count criminal indictment. Fiore and her defense attorney, Michael Sanft, argued her right to a speedy trial, and U.S. District Judge Jennifer Dorsey in Las Vegas said jury selection will begin September 24th. Sanft and federal prosecutors Dahoud Askar and Alexander Gottfried told the judge they expected trial can be completed by the second week of October. Oscar and Gottfried declined outside court to speak with reporters. Neither Fiore nor Sant commented to reporters about the case. They were accompanied by Fiore's friend Sigal Chadha, a lawyer and conservative GOP firebrand who lost a bid for state attorney general in 2022 to Aaron Ford, a Democrat. Chadha is also representing one of 6 Nevada Republican. Okay, there isn't really much more information in this article. So I don't think, did it say the judge? This seems like this, I feel like supports the argument I've heard, or an argument that I've heard that there's sort of a reverse Darwinian process going on with the Trump administration right now, that they're there's a selection bias for the worst, most sycophantic possible people. And so it's like, this is I feel like the culmination of that. This is the pinnacle of all of that. Is you have people like her getting pardoned. Just imagine for half a second that the Democrats had somebody like this who had these charges against them, who had the judge coming out making strong statements that they actually did this, and then they came out and pardoned her. It would be World War III. The Republicans and conservatives would go absolutely nuclear. And so this is this is so beyond the pale. I mean, everything we see from this administration is very beyond the pale, but like this is just this is like not so many things are beyond the pale because they're really bad. They have like a really large tangible effect. You keep food stamps, X number of people, X millions of people are going to lose their access to food and whatnot. This is just this is just so stupid. Like it's that impactful, right? It's not like billions of people are gonna lose access to food because she gets pardoned, but, like, it's just so stupid. Why? Just why? No reasonable person would look and read this article about her or look into her and be like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, this makes sense. Yeah, Trump is based for doing this." Nobody's doing that, or no reasonable, sane human being is doing that. This is just I oy, oy, oy. All right, let's move on. Here's one more article on it. I'm just going to go through this really quick. It was about the same issue, so let's see if it has any new information. Last week, Donald Trump issued one of his most outrageous pardons to date, rescuing Nevada's Michele Fiore from a prison sentence despite her conviction over flagrant corruption. The White House has never The White House never even tried to justify the move, and there was no great mystery behind the motivation. Fiore has been a Trump loyalist for years. She's been described as Nevada's Lady Trump, and in this administration, it's likely the president didn't need any additional information. But yeah, that's a good point. Trump probably didn't give 6 shits about exactly what she did or the charges against her. He did not care. All he cares is that she's Lady Trump. She's been a sycophantic, extremely loyal supporter of him, and that's all he cares about, period. But as it turns out, this was one of 2 such pardons issued around the same time. The details of this one admittedly get a little complicated, giving. Wait, President. All right, I'll just read this quote. President Trump has pardoned a Florida healthcare executive whose mother played a role in trying to expose the contents of Ashley Biden's diary. The pardon of the executive, Paul Walsiak, was signed privately on Wednesday and posted on the Justice Department's website on Friday. It came less than 2 weeks after he was sentenced to 18 months in prison and ordered to pay nearly $4.4 million in restitution for tax crimes that prosecutors said were used to finance a lavish lifestyle, including the purchase of a yacht. The details of this one admittedly get a little complicated, giving Walsiak's mother's role in the bizarre stories surrounding the Ashley Biden diary. But let's not overcomplicate matters. There's nothing to suggest Walsiak was involved in the diary saga, and his criminal conviction was totally unrelated to the controversies surrounding the former president's daughter. Rather, we have rather what we have here is a Republican donor from a Republican family who was caught siphoning off tax payments for his employees repeatedly over the course of a decade in order to finance an extravagant lifestyle. Through Walziak's Though Walziak professed his innocence, he was ultimately convicted and was poised to spend a year and a half behind bars, that is, until Trump decided to intervene in his case. 2 weeks ago at sentencing, U.S. District Judge Kenneth Mara, a George W. Bush appointee, told the defendant, "Unfortunately, there's a perception in this country that the criminal justice system only works in favor of the rich and against the poor. To just let Mr. Walziak walk away because he came up with $10 million to pay the debt reinforces that perception. The rich get away with it and the poor go to prison." The judge added that Walsiak is not entitled to a get out of jail free card. Evidently, the president came to the opposite conclusion, helping fuel a different perception in this country that the criminal justice system increasingly works in favor of those aligned with the man in the Oval Office. As regular readers know, during Trump's first term, he effectively wielded his pardon power as a corrupt weapon, rewarding loyalists, completing cover-ups, undermining federal law enforcement, and doling out perverse favors to the politically connected. As Trump prepared to leave the White House after his 2020 election defeat, the Republican issued some of the most controversial pardons in American history. After his second inaugural, he wasted no time in picking up where he left off. On the first day of his second term, Trump issued roughly 1,500 pardons and commuted the sentence of 14 Jan 6 criminals, including violent felons who were in prison for assaulting police officers. A few days later, he kept going, pardoning 23 anti-abortion rights advocates, seemingly unconcerned with their guilt. That was soon followed by a pardon for former Governor Rob Blagojevich, a man synonymous with corruption in Illinois politics and whom Trump saw as an ally. So I want to click on this really quick and see the 23 anti-abortion rights, what that is. Trump finds another group of political pardon. Oy, oy, oy. Down the rabbit hole we go, guys. Down the rabbit hole we go. When Donald Trump sat down with Fox News' Sean Hannity on the third day of his second term, God fucking damn it, go away, you stupid ad. Piss off. Sean Hannity on the third day of his second term, the president had plenty to say about pardons, specifically his immediate predecessor's use of the tool. "This guy went around giving everybody pardons," the Republican said in reference to Joe Biden. There was some irony to those comments. After all, roughly 48 hours earlier, Trump issued roughly 1,500 pardons and commuted the sentence of 14 Jan 6 criminals, including violent felons who were in prison for assaulting police officers, as his first term came to an ignominious blah, blah, end. He similarly scrambled to issue a series of similarly scandalous pardons to his political allies. On the fourth day of his second term, the Republican kept the trend going. President Donald Trump signed an executive order pardoning 23 anti-abortion rights advocates Thursday, one day before he is expected to address thousands of anti-abortion rights demonstrators at their annual march in Washington. 23 people were prosecuted. They should not have been prosecuted, Trump said at the Oval Office signing ceremony Thursday, noting that many of them are elderly. "This is a great honor to sign. They will be very happy." That last point is very likely true. When criminals are pardoned, they tend to be very happy. That is very true, yes. Very big brain of him to make that observation. But that doesn't mean the pardons have merit. Roughly 30 years ago, as abortion providers and their patients faced intensifying violence, Democrats approved the Freedom of Access to Clinics Entrances Act, often known by its acronym, the FACE Act. The goal was simple. Opponents of reproductive rights were free to exercise their First Amendment rights and protest, but they couldn't commit acts of violence or prevent people from accessing legal medical services. Seems completely logical to me, makes sense. Biden administration enforced the law prosecuting and successfully convicting people who were found to have blocked access to reproductive health clinics. The Republican incumbent, a longtime proponent of abortion rights before entering GOP politics, wiped the slate clean for 23 such criminals on the eve of the 52nd annual March for Life in the nation's capital. In the process, Trump offered yet another reminder about what he thinks the pardon power is all about. Historically, the idea behind presidential pardons was to allow a chief executive to right a wrong or to protect the innocent. For Trump, however, pardons are effectively party favors to be handed out to people he likes, agrees with, and or sees as political allies. That's very well put. There seems to be no ideological or logical at all consistency with the way that he's applying these pardons. I mean, just look at the look at the January 6 pardons. Those are beyond the pale. Like, come on, guys. Come on. Imagine for half a second that Antifa or the left or some vaguely right any group left of Nixon does anything even close to January 6th, and then Biden or Hillary or Kamala comes out and pardons them, bro, it would be World War III. These people would lose their minds. Like, I know I sound like a broken record pointing out the hypocrisy of a lot of these self-described conservatives and Republicans, but like, and normally I don't like knocking down a straw man because I know there's plenty of them that don't do this, but like, there are even the ones that say they don't do this. So often when I talk to them, they are doing this. They are holding up this humongous hypocritical double standard with the way that they would treat Trump and literally not even any Democrats, pretty much just any other politician. And it's maddening. It's like there's, I don't know. It's like these people are so logical in their everyday lives. They may be an electrical engineer, or they may be I don't know, a pilot or something. They're really they're smart, technically capable people, but they just turn off. They're just completely turn off their brain when it comes to politics. I don't understand. All right, let's get out of this rabbit hole and move on to something else. Okay, so I saw this and this was absolutely insane. I saw basically, we're gonna watch this clip and I'm gonna react to it. But pretty much I saw that like Trump Trump thought the Kilmar Abrego Garcia or whatever, the hand tattoos that he had, they there's a picture of Trump holding like a picture of his hand tattoos, and they had photoshopped MS13 on his knuckles to try and like indicate what they think that those tattoos are supposed to mean. But Trump at least is pretending like he thinks those are real tattoos. That either somebody told him that that is real and that nobody told him that that's a photoshopped image, or what I think is more likely is that he understands all the that this is really bad optics and that he's trying to find a way out. And a way out is to pretend like he thought it was a photo, like it was real the whole time, and that somebody was wrong and informed him wrong, and that it's always somebody else's fault. I have a feel like he gets no benefit of the doubt. He gets no benefit of the doubt anymore that oh, somebody just told him like this was photoshopped, or he's just an old dude who doesn't know what Photoshop is, or he doesn't get any benefit of the doubt like that anymore. But let's see exactly what his comments are and see what I have to say.
I can't have a trial, a major trial for every person that came in illegally. We have thousands of murderers that
You can't have a major trial for every person that comes in illegally? Why not, though? Haven't we done that throughout the entire history of the United States? Has there ever been a period of time where we haven't done that? And is there a good reason why we are unable to do that? The answer is, of course, no.
came in, They're going to murder people. They already have murdered people in our country.
Right, so
we have to get them out, and we have to get them out fast.
Really bad guys, but in our country, even bad guys get due process, right?
If people come into our country illegally, there's a different standard. These are illegal. They came in illegally.
But they get due process.
Well, they get a process where we have to get them out. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about.
So he literally oh my God, this is so like, what happened to this guy, man? I don't know, bro. If you showed him a clip, like you went 20 years in the past and showed Donald Trump a clip of himself saying this, I think he would be disgusted. He would be like, what is wrong with me? Like, I'm not going to say Trump used to be sane or better, but he used to be a little better, and he used to be not a complete fucking moron. This isn't even moronic. This is dark. This is like, this is, I can't even think of a reasonable defense for this. How can you possibly know that they're criminals if you don't have the trial? I understand what he's saying, all right? He doesn't want to have sympathy. He views the due process as sympathy in a way, and he doesn't want to give these people sympathy if they've committed a crime. But how could you possibly know if somebody's committed a crime without the trial? Otherwise, it would just be an accusation. Like, and sir, oh, this is. Anyways, let's continue.
The Venezuelans.
They get whatever my lawyers say. His tattoos.
Oh, he had some tattoos that are interpreted that way. But let's move on.
Wait a minute. Hey, Terry.
He did not
Don't
have the
do that.
letter MS13.
It says MS13.
That was Photoshopped. So let me
That
just.
was Photoshop. Terry, you can't do that. Hey, they're giving you the big break of a lifetime. You know, you're doing the interview. I picked you because, frankly, I never heard of you, but that's okay. I picked you, Terry, but you're not being very nice.
Oh, Trump's trying to manipulate him here. What? He's literally trying to be like, watch what you're saying.
Giving you the big break of a lifetime. You know,
Bro, this is disgusting.
Hey, Terry.
He did not
Don't
have the
do that.
letter MS13.
It says MS13.
That was Photoshopped. So let me
That
just.
was Photoshop. Terry, you can't do that. Hey, they're giving you the big break of a lifetime. You know, you're doing the interview. I
fully
picked you
believes
because,
that it was
frankly, I
real.
never heard of you, but that's okay.
this
I
would
picked
come.
you, Terry,
Bro,
but you're not being very nice.
We live in La La Land. I mean, you like to clown, you get a circus, but like, holy crap, this is beyond the pale. Oh, God. How possibly this has to be cynical. This has to be purposeful, and it has to be cynical. He gets no benefit of the doubt. There is absolutely no way that he legitimately believed that that was part of his hand tattoo, right? There's no fucking way. Like, there's no way. He just has to be lying. He has to be lying. And honestly, I don't really care if he's lying or not, because he gets zero benefit of the doubt anymore. And this is so dark and just evil. I mean, honestly, like, is he arguing that there's basically that the people that come in illegally are like just lesser people? They are lesser humans. They are second class. They aren't even citizens. They're second class human beings. And in that sense, they are not deserving the same rights, like due process or anything like that. It's so dark and gross. And like, what got him to this point? I mean, how? How do you how do you become like this? I don't understand. All right, we're gonna move on. There really isn't that much more to that story. Oh, there's an article. All right, we'll read this article really quick about it and see what it has to say. Trump would not concede MS-13. Oh, I can take this up down. Trump would not concede MS-13 letters were digitally added. The White House declined to explain why President Trump did not appear to realize that the photograph he held up on social media had been altered. During an interview with Terry Morgan of ABC News on Tuesday, President Trump insisted that the man his administration had mistakenly deported to El Salvador had a gang name tattooed on his hand. On his knuckles, Mr. Trump said, he had MS-13. Pause the tape. Rewind it to about a week earlier when Mr. Trump, in a social post, held up a photograph of the man, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, showing him with 4 tattoos, one on each finger. There was a leaf, a smiley face, a cross, and a skull. Above those symbols, the alphanumeric term MS13 has been superimposed onto the photo, essentially serving as a caption decoding the tattoos. Some gang experts have questioned whether they are truly MS13 symbols. In the interview with Mr. Moran, the president appeared Mr. Moron. Mr. Moron. President appeared to believe that, oh, that's so childish. I can't believe I actually made that joke. The president appeared to believe that the characters that had been typed onto the photo he triumphantly held in his social media post were in fact tattoos themselves. Mr. Moron gingerly tried to correct the record about that, but Mr. Trump was having none of it. Wait a minute, he said. Hey, Terry. Mr. Morgan tried again. He did not have the letter. Don't do that. Mr. Trump cut in. MS-13. It says MS-13. When Mr. Morgan said that those characters had been photoshopped onto the picture, Mr. Trump looked positively mutinous. The exchange went around and around as the president continued to claim with increasing exasperation that these numbers and letters that he so badly wanted the world to see did in fact exist in ink on this man's knuckles. He could not bring himself to admit that Mr. Abrego Garcia did not have the words MS-13 tattooed on his hand. Why don't you just say, yes, he does, Mr. Trump finally said to Mr. Morgan, and, go on to do something else? Oh my God, it's hilarious. He's like, just why can't you just go do something else? Why do you even have to ask about this? Why can't you ask about my favorite flavor of soda? I love I love Diet Coke, and when I'm feeling a little bad, I'll have a regular Dr. Pepper with caffeine and all. Ooh, why can't you ask about stuff like that, huh? Fun stuff like my favorite candy bar or what I shot at golf last week. Did you hear I won the tournament? Why can't you ask about that? Oh gosh. Let's see, where was I? Asked about the exchange on Wednesday, Kush Desai, a White House spokesman, asserted that Mr. Abrego Garcia's tattoos were the insignia of a violent gang. But Mr. Desai declined to answer questions about why Mr. Trump would not accept that Mr. Abrego Garcia does not, in fact, have MS-13 tattooed on his hand, and that the photograph Mr. Trump had posed with in his social media post had been altered. The subtext of the knuckle text back and forth is this: the Trump administration has faced increasing scrutiny from the courts over its handling of Mr. Abrego Garcia, and it has chosen to respond to that scrutiny by waging a war of public opinion. Rather than release the detailed information about the steps it should be taking to comply with a Supreme Court order to facilitate this man's release, the administration is instead releasing statements and photographs hammering home its view that Mr. Abrego Garcia is a criminal. It's what Mr. Trump's original post about the tattooed hands was about in the first place. It's all part of an administration PR blitz. The White House lawn is embellished this week by lawn signs showing the names, faces, and alleged crimes of migrants who have been deported. As for Mr. Abrego Garcia and his tattoos, it is not exactly the clear-cut picture Mr. Trump would prefer. The president's advisors have repeatedly argued that two courts had ruled Mr. Abrego Garcia is a member of MS-13. In truth, he has never been charged with or convicted of being a member of the gang, but during his deportation proceedings, evidence was introduced that he belonged to MS-13, and judges decided it was enough to keep him in custody during the process. In fact, an immigration judge in 2019 ruled that Mr. Abrego Garcia could not be deported back to El Salvador because he could face prosecution or violence from a gang there. The judge allowed him to stay in the United States, and he obtained a work permit. A federal judge has also found the evidence that Mr. Abrego Garcia is a gang member to be dubious. The evidence against Abrego Garcia consisted of nothing more than his Chicago Bulls hat and hoodie and a vague, uncorroborated allegation from a confidential informant claiming he belonged to MS-13's Western Clique in New York, a place he had never lived. Judge Paula Zines wrote in an order this month. The Trump administration has increasingly zeroed in on tattoos when identifying Venezuelan migrants as gang members who could be deported to the prison in El Salvador. Immigration officials have cited markings like crowns and clocks as evidence of membership in Tren de Aragua, the transnational gang with roots in Venezuela. In an effort to determine the gang affiliation of the migrants, the Homeland Security Department created a scorecard and assigned the men points for different aspects of their tattoos. After having tattoos associated with the gang was worth 4 points, a tally of 8 points was considered evidence of gang membership. But law enforcement experts have questioned whether tattoos in general provide reliable evidence for identifying gang members, none of which comports with the message Mr. Trump had been pushing both in his social media posts and in his interview on ABC News Tuesday night. Yeah, so it's bananas. Living in La La Land. He's trying to there. We've talked about this before, but just how stupid and sick it is that they're doubling down on this whole Abrego Garcia thing. Like, I don't understand why they think this is good PR, why this is good optics, or why this is good policy. I can't think, even if I try and put myself in the strategic mindset of a Republican or a hardcore conservative, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. All this could do is push people away. This would never ever bring people over to your side. All this could do it, and like I know that there's such a large portion of Too Far Gone, cult members that like you're not going to push them away, but like you're going to push away any moderate in between person that might be more reasonable or have any semblance of a brain on their shoulders. Alrighty, let's move on. Okay, so I saw um we could probably cover this pretty quickly. I saw an article talking about gas stoves and childhood cancer rates. Now, I'm sure if you're politically involved, I'm sure you remember over the last couple of years, there's been this whole hubbub about gas stoves and potentially banning them or restricting their use somewhat. And a lot of people were really mad. A lot of people were the I'm not gonna say the freedom and liberty people because they're not the real freedom and liberty people, right? If you were really for freedom and liberty, this would not be where your focus is. The fake freedom and liberty people, the people that like the aesthetic and veneer of freedom and liberty and will buy products and are the people that are susceptible to that kind of marketing, but I haven't really thought about these concepts any deeper or in any sort of ideological or theoretical capacity. Um, but yeah, basically there was some soft studies that had come out, or some research that had come out that said that there was a link between childhood cancer rates and gas stoves being in the home. And so seems like if there really is an explicit, provable scientific link there, then we banning gas stoves in homes makes tons of sense to me. On top of the fact that gas stoves are very inefficient as far as power delivery goes. Electric and convection stoves are way, way more efficient at power delivery and cooking things than gas. A huge when you cook something with a gas stove, the vast majority of it just goes off into space. Scientists sound the alarm after linking popular home appliances to cancer risk. Risks for the children are approximately 4 to 16 times higher. New research shows that millions of Americans, especially children, may have higher cancer risks after being exposed to pollution from gas stoves. According to a study published in the Journal of Hazardous Materials, gas stoves can elevate cancer risks in homes with significant stove usage and poor ventilation. The cancer risk from gas stove exposure is 1.85 times higher for children than adults. Natural gas, so basically the the carcinogenic exposure that gas stoves give you are 1.85 times, or I guess 85% more harmful to children than they are adults. Natural gas and propane stoves release the carcinogen benzene. Carcinogens are substances that increase the risk of cancer. According to NPR, 35% of homes in America use gas stoves despite the health and environmental dangers. In the study, the researchers examined health risks in homes with gas stoves that emit the most benzene, specifically the top 5% highest benzene emitting gas stoves. This seemingly small fraction impacts roughly 6.3 million Americans. The scientists measured the effects of low, medium, and high stove usage in both ventilated and non-ventilated conditions. Medium to high gas stove usage in homes with poor ventilation was revealed to significantly elevate cancer risks. I'm going to read that sentence one more time, that paragraph one more time. The scientists measured the effects of low, medium, and high stove usage in both ventilated and non-ventilated conditions. Medium to high gas stove usage in homes with poor ventilation was revealed to significantly elevate cancer risks. Additionally, the researchers found that if ventilation isn't used, the risk for children are if ventilation isn't used, so any ventilation, the risks for the children are approximately 4 to 16 times higher than the common limit of carcinogenic effects for all four types of dwellings. The scientists noted that high efficiency vented hoods are decent options to reduce benzene exposure. They also said that addressing combustion related indoor pollutants in relation to human health should be a priority. Induction ranges are safer alternatives to gas stoves, according to Consumer Reports. Induction stoves are much better for indoor air quality, in part because they don't emit benzene and are about 3 times more efficient than gas stoves. High-tech induction ranges also cook faster than other stove options. That's consistent with what I said before and my understanding of the differences between gas, electric, and convection stoves. Switching to not convection, induction. Switching to an induction range doesn't have to be expensive. Plug-in induction burners are great options for renters or folks who can't afford kitchen renovations. They can be purchased at a starting price of $50. Meanwhile, homeowners can get up to 30% off the cost of an induction range thanks to the Inflation Reduction Act. Oh, so I wonder if they put in some sort of tax incentive. That would be cool. It looks like fuck it, I'll click on that. Unless it's a whole article talking about the Inflation Reduction Act. If it's just pointing out this one specific gas stove, this is the whole Inflation Reduction Act, isn't it? Okay, I'm not gonna read all this right now. But it looks like I would guess they implemented a tax incentive to put in an install an induction stove over a gas or electric. Taking advantage of the incentives could save homeowners thousands of dollars, but they may need to act sooner rather than later. The Trump administration announced its intention to cut back some energy efficient policies. However, major IRA changes would have to be approved by Congress. Inflation Reduction Act changes. Okay, so administration announced its intention to cut back some energy efficient policies. Yeah, of course. The Trump administration announced its intention to cut back some energy efficient policies. Yeah, I mean, I think this is like absolute peak cynicism, peak pessimism. But I think we've reached that. I think it's justified to be at that point with this administration just because of how hysterical and just the pure lunacy that we're seeing. And so when I see something like the Trump administration announced its intention to cut back some energy efficient policies, this not only doesn't surprise me, this like I think if you came at it from the perspective of, let's think of the good things that government does, and then think of, okay, that's where Trump's going to go first and try and attack first. I think you'd be very justified in thinking that sort of way because it seems, I don't know, it seems more and more like that's exactly what they're doing. I feel like this whole administration gives off the vibe that they're all billionaires, completely insulated from any of the effects of their policies, and that um, and that they are they're interested in triggering the libs, but from a billionaire's perspective. So like if you're a regular everyday person, cutting food stamps doesn't really seem like a trigger the lib position, right? You may be a conservative, but like cutting food and you may be against food stamps, but you wouldn't really see that as a trigger the lib sort of position. Like you're that's not really one of those things that first comes to mind when you think of triggering the libs. But like I think I feel like that's from their billionaire perspective, taking away those things is triggering the libs. So I think that is exactly what it's almost like they're coming from the perspective of billionaires trying to trigger the libs, not just regular everyday conservatives or Republicans. Alrighty. So let's move on to okay, I think this might be the last thing we cover, maybe one more. Trump official says American dream is working in factories forever. Former CEO and current Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, who wants robots to replace the American worker and wants you to shut up and take your Social Security cuts, also wants a section of the population to commit generations of their family to working in factories. It's time to train people not to do the jobs of the past, but to do the great jobs of the future, Lutnick said Tuesday on MSNBC while arguing for more community college education before his argument got much worse. This is the new this is the new model where you work in these kind of plants for the rest of your life and your kids work here and your grandkids work here. You know, we let the auto plants go overseas. Right now, you should see an auto plant. It's highly automated, but the people, the 5,000 people who work there, they are trained to take care of those robotic arms. They are trained to keep the air conditioning system. There's nothing wrong with working in a factory on its face, but Lutnick, the son of a college professor and the grandson of a dry cleaning store owner, is suggesting that millions of people ought to commit to a generational lack of upward mobility under the guise of creating a new class of American labor. What Lutnick is so enthusiastically describing being bound to the same job in the same industry for decades and decades is serfdom. And that serfdom won't be widely available as automation takes over and the only job left is to watch the robots and make sure they don't overheat. Howard Lutnick and Donald Trump view the domestic workforce as a homogeneous, voiceless mass happy to live in the dreary mediocrity they're forced into. I love how this person, whoever wrote this article, is writes well. What's his name? His or her name? Malcolm Ferguson. I like your writing. I like how you this last sentence made me happy. Howard Lutnick and Donald Trump view the domestic workforce as a homogeneous, voiceless mass happy to live in the dreary mediocrity they're forced into. I Hard to read, but I love that sentence. I like how this guy writes this. So yeah, that's pretty sick. Let's just watch this clip really quick. Um, See if it adds any context.
Right? You're north of Phoenix. Where are they coming? The key is where are
It's
you
on
going to
Blue
find
Sky. I think this is actually the very first time I've ever gone to Blue Sky website.
key is where are you going to find the people to work here? Right? You're north of Phoenix. Where are they coming?
That's
you
right.
go to the community colleges and you train people. So all the community colleges around here, Arizona State's on it, Grand Canyon, all these community colleges here are training people right now, technicians, and these are really good paying jobs. You start at 70s, 80s, $90,000. These are trade craft. It's time to train people not to do the jobs of the past, but to do the great jobs of the future. You know, this is the new model where you work in these kind of plants for the rest of your life and your kids work here and your grandkids work here. You know,
I feel like this could be coming straight out of Elon Musk's mouth, and I wouldn't be totally shocked.
the auto plants go overseas. Right now, you should see an auto plant. It's highly automated, but the people, the 5,000 people who work there, they are trained to take care of those robotic arms. They're trained to keep the air conditioning
You're
system.
taking a lot of guff.
Key is where
Oof, yeah, that not good, not good optics, not a good look. I mean, I don't really think they care about that kind of stuff, clearly. Um, but like, this is not a good look. Not a good look. I feel like somebody like him, you would think Trump would want to appoint people to those kind of positions that could hide the ball a little better, right? If you're a running back, you want to hide the ball. You don't want to be holding it out in the open while you're running just so somebody can take it from you. You want to hide that stuff. But he's kind of running with the ball out like this, right? It makes it really easy to see what he's doing, and it's not coy. It's not sly. It's not slick. He ain't sneaky. He's the opposite. He couldn't be any more conspicuous. All right. So this will be the last thing I cover for today. So, United States sees disproportionate increase in body mass index rates of more than 60. So, I don't know exactly what that means. I'm hoping this describes it a little better. In the past 20 years, the average rate of rate of obesity among adults in the United States has risen by approximately 30%, but the rate of those with the most severe forms of obesity, or those with a body mass index or BMI of more than 60 kilograms per M2, increased by 210%. In a recently published research letter in the prestigious medical journal The Lancet, Diabetes and Endocrinology, researchers from Pennington Biomedical analyzed national health data from 2001 through 2023 and discovered the alarming increase in the numbers of patients with the most severe forms of obesity. Most attention is focused on the category of general obesity, which starts with a BMI of 30 kilograms per square meter, but there is less attention paid to prevalence of obesity of 60 BMI or greater, a category associated with an increased clinical burden, impaired mobility, and elevated healthcare costs, said Dr. Philip Shore, United Companies Life Insurance Company, Mary Kay, and Terrell Brown Chair and Director of the Metamor Institute at Pennington Biomedical. This study is the first to categorize the growing pervasiveness of this extreme degree of obesity, but its gravity is not to be understated, as patients in this category face far greater health risks and comorbidities. For comparison, the average person with a BMI of 30 kilograms per meter squared is about 30 to 40 pounds overweight, while a person with a BMI of 60 or greater is more than 200 pounds overweight. In the study, disproportionate increase in BMI, blah, 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 researchers state that through obesity with a BMI of 60 or greater was Researchers state that though obesity with a BMI of 60 or greater was presumed to be exceedingly rare, no clear understanding was available as the many previous reports counted all individuals with a BMI at or above 30 kilograms or higher in a single group. While this study is also one of the first to show a growing prevalence of BMIs between 50 and 60, the threshold of BMI at or above 60 is associated with an even greater severity of associated diseases. People with such extreme obesity often are not mobile or must walk with assistance or motorized carts, have many hospital visits for treating severe illnesses, and are unable to work due to disability. Instances of BMI above 60 have increased concurrently with the development and prescribing of GLP-1 based medications, and though these show promise in addressing obesity, their effectiveness in patients in this group is largely unknown, as randomized controlled trials for these medications include participants with an average BMI in the range of 37 to 38 kilograms. The rise in extreme obesity cases, now estimated to be more than 850,000 people in the U.S., also raises serious concerns for the healthcare industry, as these patients often exceed the weight limit for standard medical equipment, adding complexity to biomedical imaging, anesthesia, and surgeries. The weight limits of certain medical equipment results in an inability to provide typical medical care, which may be detrimental to a population at even greater risk for comorbidities, reduced responsiveness for standard weight loss interventions, and other challenges. The research team on the study disproportionate increase in BMI of 60 in the USA were co-primary authors Dr. Michael Kachmer and Dr. Vance Albach, along with Dr. Schauer, Dr. blah, 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 and all these other doctors. Um, research letters published Research letters published in the correspondence section include research findings and are externally peer-reviewed. Unlike articles containing original data, research letters are shorter, and the research they contain is usually preliminary, exploratory, or reporting on early findings. The rate of growth in cases of obesity with a BMI of 60 or greater sends an urgent message to healthcare providers and policymakers to develop the necessary resources and infrastructure to address the challenges posed by this condition, said Dr. John Kerwin, Executive Director of Pennington Biomedical. I commend Dr. Schauer and the research team for being the first to bring the growth rate of this condition to light and giving it the attention it is due. For this and all metabolic diseases and conditions, the research facility at Pennington Biomedical are committed to delivering solutions. For this and all metabolic diseases and conditions, the research facility The research faculty at Pennington Biomedical are committed to delivering solutions from cells to society, addressing the public health challenges of our time. The Biomedical team uses direct. Okay, so I need to. I'll just read the rest. The Pennington Biomedical team uses direct measurements of weight and height from the robust data set provided by the National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey. The analysis of BMI trends in the U.S. included non-pregnant adults aged 18 or older from 2001 to 2023, with data examined in 4-year intervals. As the data showed, a 29.5% increase in all cases of obesity, classified as individuals with a BMI of 30 or more. Those classified as having normal weight or BMIs of 18 to 25, and those classified as being overweight or BMIs of 25 to 30, both decreases in their time frame. Okay, so I guess I guess this is saying that the rate of really, really high end obesity has gone up. That this isn't commenting that this article isn't commenting on whether rates of obesity in general have gone up or down. It's commenting on specifically really, really top end of extreme cases of obesity, specifically those over a BMI of 60. Um, that those have gone up by how much did it say exactly? 30%, which is pretty significant. Um, I think there's a lot of anecdotal things I could point towards, and most people could, that would make sense for this, like video games being more popular, it being harder and more expensive to do sports, um, maybe even climate change making some places hotter than earlier than they otherwise would be, so you have less time outside when it's cool and nice out. Um, or increasingly, or the prevalence of social media and our increasingly atomized social system. Like there are a bunch of anecdotal things that you could point towards that would, I think, somewhat reasonably explain this increase. But a lot of those things would reasonably explain an overall increase in obesity as well. And so really, to back up those claims, I would need to see the changes in trends of general obesity rates, not just the super, super high end, extreme 200, more than 200 pounds overweight sort of obesity. Because it says when you have a BMI of 60 or greater, typically you're 200 pounds or more overweight, which is a lot. Which means what? You would need to be approaching 400 pounds. How many people are above 350? Like, I don't know it's probably a lot, but I would imagine there's far more people sitting between the 2 and 300 marks than sitting over 300 or over 350. Alrighty. We're going to keep today a little shorter than normal. So it has been May 1st, 2025. I am Michael Winkler, and this has been The Mike Wink Show. Peace out, y'all.